we are increasingly recognizing cybersecurity as vital for survival of the modern digital society in a commercial sense, a national security sense, a business, and also for individual preservation of individual privacy, including confidentiality of personal information, and so on. And so we need to protect against both criminals and state-sponsored attacks. And for that, we will need a large cohort of skilled individuals with an understanding of the principles of security and with practical experience in applying those principles. The attackers don't attack where you build your strong defense. The attackers are not stupid, and they attack where it's most convenient for them to attack, which may be the part where your system is weakest, which may be the part where you didn't build the defense, which may be the part where you didn't even imagine that an attack would be possible. So you install this very strong armor-plated front door after the burglary where they stole stuff, and now I'm safe. And you don't imagine because you just didn't think about it. I mean, it's obvious when they tell you later. You didn't think that they can just put some mechanical arm through the letterbox and open the handle from the inside. And you say, why did I go to the expense of the armor plate doors? This is a stupid metaphor, but this is really what happens. That people build an incredible defense somewhere, and they think they're going to be attacked there, and they're going to be stopped by this thing, which is 2 centimeters thick. And that's not where they're going to attack. If it's 2 centimeters thick, they're going to attack somewhere else. So if you want to have any hope of being able to defeat the attacker, then you must learn to think like the attacker. And otherwise, the attacker will always outsmart you. And so, in my opinion, the core of security is adversarial thinking. And adversarial thinking is not a piece of knowledge. It's not something that I can lecture about. It's really a mindset. And it's difficult to teach. Perhaps it's impossible to teach. And you must learn adversarial thinking in order to anticipate what the bad guys might do. You have to look at everything with suspicion, and you must question all of your own assumptions. And in part, at least to me, that's what makes security interesting, because it's fun, especially those of us who are contrarians and reluctant to accept any dogma, find it interesting to always be challenging stuff that they have been told had to be that way. And the way that I teach adversarial thinking to my students or to my commercial clients is by showing them the classics. So the Homer and the Shakespeare and the Dostoevsky of cybersecurity, which is the attacks that have made history and that keep repeating in various forms since then. And in a hands-on fashion, I make them do, well, pretend that you are back in the 1970s when all these things were like that. Let's make a toy system. Can you attack? Because it's still difficult. I mean, it was difficult in the 1970s. It's obvious now if I tell you how it's done. Try do it yourself. It's not that obvious at all. It's not about hand-wavy, buffer overflow. I mean, I can tell you what a buffer overflow is in 1 minute if you need me to do. I'm sure you already know all of that by yourself. But I don't consider that to be any form of cybersecurity expertise. I train people to actually be able to outsmart the bad guys. So all the bad guys do, you must be able to do better. That's the only chance you have to then do a defense that will stop the bad guys. If the bad guys can do things you cannot do, you have no hope of stopping the bad guys. So at this point, some people who listen to me saying that, especially if I put it in a YouTube short, and they don't have the context, they say, we must write to the newspaper. This irresponsible Cambridge professor who teaches people how to hack and be cyber criminals and so on, and write to the vice chancellor, make him stop or fire him, or even better, put him in jail and stuff like that. So I think that these people are extremely misguided, because you cannot have a competent cyber defender who is not skilled in attack, because attack and defense are inextricably interlinked. I'm also a swordsman. I practice the Japanese sword. I have done so for many decades. I have led the Cambridge dojo for over 2 decades, and I am the 5th dan in Kendo. And attack and defense cannot be separated. And if you think about securing something with a lock, nobody can build a strong lock if they are not competent about lockpicking. A basic grounding in systems security is really foundational educational material that should be an essential part of the training of every computer scientist, in my view, even people who don't then become security specialists later. Because this is 2025, and we still have systems that get attacked and taken down because of basic vulnerabilities like buffer overflow, an instance of which was in my previous slide. Now, this thing has been known since the 1970s. Okay? So how is it possible that there are still programmers in 2025 who write code that is vulnerable to buffer overflows? Now, there's a bunch of protections that have been put in to put guardrails against people who still write code without knowing what they're doing and trying to stop them from doing the thing that they still do. But my point is they shouldn't be doing them in the first place. So I want to educate all students. It's not a specialist final year course for people who are going to become cybersecurity specialists or do a PhD with me. It's a course that everyone has to take. And it is that way because everyone who gets out of Cambridge with a computer security degree had better know how not to write stupid code that has a buffer overflow in it. Most of the spectacular security incidents that we still witness today are made possible by simple software vulnerabilities that were introduced by developers who don't have this very basic training. And so this awareness would in itself make them exercise a little more caution, and the whole digital society would become a safer place.